Ladies and gentlemen, we are now live. Welcome to a conversation with, and I am your host, Floyd Marshall Jr. And my amazing co host, Okiba T. Moore, will not be joining us today because she is currently at the American Black Film Festival, where her film that she directed, Laundry, is screening tomorrow. So if you are in the Miami area and you want to see a phenomenal film, go check out my co host, director's film Laundry at the American Black Film Festival. Okay, now to the subject at hand. Today, I am joined by returning guest and the founder of Diversity and Cons Film Showcase, social disruptor, a woman who is known for getting it done, Yolonda Brinkley. Yolanda, welcome back to a conversation with. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. And I am so excited to talk to you because you just got back not too long ago from Cannes, or Cannes, as some people say, with the 16th year of the Diversity and Cannes Film Showcase. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not a film festival, it is a film showcase showcasing the amazing diversity in film, but more importantly, or most importantly, highlighting Black people in the film space. So, the first question I always love to ask my guests is, how did all of this start?
Well, first, let me clarify. It is the
Okay.
Diversity in Cannes Short Film Showcase,
Okay.
which is under the umbrella of Diversity in Cannes, which is the independent film movement promoting total inclusion at the Cannes Film Festival. So we are not just specific to race. We are inclusive of those people telling stories specific to marginalized populations, including race, religion, sexual orientation, physical ability, class, and diversity of thought. So I'm not just specific to Black people, even
Beautiful.
though I, even though I am a Black woman.
Beautiful.
So, how it got started though is because I am a Black woman. And in 2009, I went there and I didn't see very many people who look like me. And then when I did roll up on them, asking them questions about what, what they were doing there, the purpose for being there, if they had access to the various opportunities that were present there, none of us knew a god darn thing.
Mm,
Nobody knew anything. And so I was like, coming from a corporate background, I was PR for Jaguar Land Rover North America, never really had a problem with access. I could call somebody up and get in. And so that was a problem for me. And that's how the idea of some form of diversity programming evolved and was kind of impregnated in me in 2009. And then it was birthed in 2010.
okay. So I was doing a little bit of research and I saw that when you were first naming this, you had two choices. You said it was going to be either diversity in can or Black in can, but you decided to go with diversity in can. And you kind of explained it, in the opening, but can you go a little bit deeper as to why you decided on diversity in can as opposed to Black in can?
So the reason back then in 2010, the reason that I made the distinction and decided to go with diversity in can was because I didn't think that there was enough Black people that I knew with whom I could connect, who I could guarantee attendance at my events consistently. That was really the reason. When I went in 2009, there were not a lot of us. There was a group, a bunch of people, but from all over the world. So Africans, Caribbeans, Americans, British. And so I didn't have enough connections at the time to be specific to one demographic. And then when it was really an idea and I knew that it was coming to fruition, the first people who accepted my invitation were multicultural individuals from Mexico. Though he was an Australian representing Mexico, Michael Rowe, Felipe Bragantia from Brazil, and Tracy Rector, a Native American from the US. Those were the first people who accepted my invitation to participate in my cross-cultural panel.
Okay. Well,
So,
I'm sorry, please.
so it originated in 2010 as a cross-cultural symposium. We didn't introduce the short film showcase until 2013.
Oh, wow. So there was a 3-year period in between 2010 and 2013. So what were you doing within that 3-year time span?
A panel discussion.
Okay.
A panel discussion for the first 3 years. The first one I mentioned the folks. Then I had an all women's panel in 2012 with Editorial McKenday, Rebecca Tickell, Anne Marie Jasir, the first Palestinian feature filmmaker female. I had one with Ulrich Brown 1 year. So I had 10, 11, and 12. I had panel discussions
Okay.
with featured guests.
What made you decide to add film to that?
Well, during that time, for one, I was financing it on my own. And so the well was running dry. And so I'm like, I can't keep doing this and sustaining this with my own money. What do I need to do to monetize this? And so, or to at least help pay for the movement itself, because it was always a movement. It was always started or in my head to just kind of bring attention to the lack of diversity in Cannes. It was never about the money. I just couldn't sustain the movement without money. And 2013, Cannes was still focused. They were still doing the short film corner, where they were selecting maybe 4,000 films, or not even selecting, but providing a platform for about 4,000 short films to kind of get screened in the short film corner. At the time, however, it was more of a library structure where the films were screened on a computer in this makeshift rooms that kind of were similar to libraries. And you could watch the film on a computer screen. And there would be a big line outside for the people waiting to see the shorts in the short film corner. And if you were lucky enough to rent one of the pop-up theaters that they would make, they would do 10 to 12 or 6 to 10 seats in a theater, maybe 13 seats in a pop-up theater in the short film corner. And so my thought at that time was to kind of be a helpmeet to the festival and providing an opportunity for those filmmakers, because they were originally my targets, for those filmmakers who were coming for the short film corner, to give them an opportunity to screen their film on a bigger screen at a private event at a hotel. And that's kind of how the short film showcase evolved and was established.
Wow, that's amazing. And that kind of leads me into my next question, because hence the title, you call yourself a global disruptor.
Yes.
You go to Cannes, and Cannes, if you're in this business, you know what Cannes is, very well established, and you sit down in the middle of it and you say, I'm going to do this.
Yes.
That is some disruptions. So my question to you is, with you doing that, did you get any pushback from the main festival with you doing what you were doing, kind of I don't even know if I want to say off to the side, but doing what you were doing? Did you get any pushback from Cannes themselves?
So I think I was so small. Well, first, let me say this. I've always been a disruptor in my own right before I even knew what a disruptor was. I mean, being from Philadelphia, I was in the desegregation program in the Philadelphia public schools. When I went to high school, I was, the vice president of the class, and making sure that the Black students had equal rights at the prom and with the DJs and the locations. And then I went to Clark Atlanta, and then at Illinois, I was the president of Black MBAs. So I've always been some form of disruptor, fighting for those who may not have the same rights or the same opportunities as others. Even in corporate America at Ford, I was doing all the diversity things and all the diversity initiatives. So diversity and inclusion, fighting for the underdog, disrupting the status quo, That's nothing new for me. It's like, it's just in my DNA. Period. Like, I think I'm a natural born fighter. I don't want to be a fighter, but I am a natural born fighter. So I'm always ready for, I'm ready for the shit. I'm with the shits. Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready for all the shenanigans that the people have. And so with that said, though, I was so small that, you know, I couldn't make a dent in, in what they were doing. They weren't really fazed about me until I was using their logo on the website, and they got wind of that. And it was a big old thing. They kind of revoked my accreditation for that year, because I was also saying, like, if you sponsor, then I would give you a ticket to one of the premiere screenings. And they were like, you can't do that. You can't say that. So they sent me like a letter. They revoked my accreditation for that year. However, I got an attorney, Elizabeth Broden. She responded to them for me. And in the process, I got some people who had been to Diversity in Cannes, who knew what I was doing, to write letters and say, listen, maybe she used the identity, the corporate identity, incorrectly, but there's no malice intended. All she's doing is exposing more people to the Cannes Film Festival. She is providing a platform for underrepresented filmmakers, and they reinstated my accreditation that year.
Okay.
So there was no big, there's no big deal. And that was because I was using their logo inappropriately. So that was the only pushback that I have ever received. Aside from that, those people, they don't pay me any mind. That was until 2021, when another guy that was inspired by what I do at Diversity in Cannes and at the Cannes Film Festival, he took he didn't copy me. He did something totally different, but he works at Berlin, and they reached out to him about doing something with Diversity in Cannes. And he was like, well, we can't talk, because this was 2021 now, and I had been there for 12 years by now. And when I say 12 years, meaning activating 12 years. So I count 2010 as a year of activation. So I started in 2010, so my first year was 11, like with birthdays. So I spoke to someone, and I can never remember this woman's name. I think her name is Alexandra or something, but she's like an Eastern European, and she wanted to talk about. She didn't want to talk about diversity and inclusion per se. She wanted to talk about access, and what's the other word that they use? Um, oh, the word escapes me right now, but it's not diversity and inclusion. They were more interested in what I was doing and if I had funding for the things that I was doing. And then they invited me to participate in something, but then they reneged on the offer shortly thereafter. So she and I have not really been in touch since. The conversation was contentious, to say the least, because again, we're not talking the same thing. Because if I take an Eastern European and drop them into France, with the exception of a few features, they're going to look the same.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be the same type of person. So until we can speak diversity and inclusion, we didn't have anything to say. So they don't bother me. And I bother them. I ask for what I need. They don't give it to me, but I do ask. But I don't really need them to do what I'm doing on the ground in Cannes.
Okay. So let's talk about the fact that you've been there for 16 years. Cannes going into its 78th year.
79.
79, excuse me, because it's 78 now, but 79,
Mm-hmm.
and less than a handful of Black films and practically no footprint at the Cannes Film Festival. Of course, they had Spike Lee one year, but as far as Black films are concerned, there has never really been any representation. And I saw an article where you talked about how the Berlin Film Festival is trying to, make inroads into that area. So at Cannes, what do you want to see change as far as inclusion, as far as Black filmmakers are concerned?
Listen, I'm done trying to fight the patriarchy. I had that revolution, not revolution, the realization. I'm I'm thinking about a revolution, but I had the realization a few years ago, I'm done trying to fight the patriarchy. Can do whatever it is that they want to do. My priority is encouraging globally diverse filmmakers who are interested in a global film career, an international film career, to attend all of the film markets, can being the biggest one, because there's business to be made there. There's deals to be made. There's relationships to be nurtured and established there. The more they see you, the more they get accustomed to seeing you, the more they expect to see you, the more you can learn about the different regions and what they're buying and what they're selling and what's popular and what's not. So we can begin to dispel the myths, of course, that, Black films and all other films do not sell globally. So my goal is no longer trying to infiltrate the Cannes Film Festival, because after 16 years, like, I'm just tired. I'm weary. I'm really disgusted. Like, this past year, I've been accredited for the Cannes Film Festival for the past 17 years. 17 years I've been accredited. And I still do not have access to the red carpet premieres on my own accord.
Mm.
I've been there. I've been in good standing. I bring clients there. My clients are in good standing. And in addition to the clients, I've brought hundreds of filmmakers to the Cannes Film Festival that have been contributing to the Cannes economy. Okay, they've been registering, they've been buying merch, they've been attending, and so for them to still not see me in that way, it annoys me. It annoys me to no end. It frustrates me. But again, I don't need them to do what I'm doing. But while you're there, Cannes is a vibe. Whether it's diverse or not, it is a vibe. When you get there, you're kind of like, you know, in the zone, right? The Mediterranean Sea is the backdrop. It's normally sunny, the sun is shining, beautiful people. You're meeting people just walking along the Croisette that you wouldn't meet under normal circumstances. So it is indeed a vibe, right? So you want to be there and you want to take part. I don't need them to do diversity and can, but if I'm all the way there, I want to be able to go into the opening night ceremony. I was able to go tonight because this year, because I was able to foster some relationship. That's like my thing. Every year I go to the opening night ceremony, I fall asleep, and then I wake up but I watch the opening ceremony. I fall asleep during the movie, but that's what I do. Right? I love it. I get there early so that I can do that. And so, again, not that I should have preferential treatment, but what more do I need to do to prove to them that I am worthy of attending their events and getting tickets? So I'm done trying to encourage people to, or I'm done trying to encourage them to accept more people. The goal is no longer about them. The goal is just encouraging the people, the globally diverse filmmakers telling stories specific to marginalized populations, to come to Cannes, invited or not, and take advantage of the global film business. Maybe you'll get invited, meaning your film will be selected. Maybe you won't. But if you look at the numbers, the probability is slim.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's talk about Spike Lee. Spike Lee is a festival favorite. Spike Lee has been coming to the Cannes as an official selection since maybe his first or second short film, to the director's fortnight. Spike has had at least maybe four films in Cannes. So what they do is they recycle their talent, including their diversity talent. You think Ken Loach, Spike Lee, Jane Campion, all the people. They continually invite the same people. Tom Cruise, they continually come back. Xavier Dolan, a young filmmaker out of Canada, they recycle their talent. I mean, of course, they bring in new people, but the talent is recycled. Anne Marie Jasir, who was a panelist for me, she's been several times. She's been on the jury. She's been selected. So I wouldn't wait for an invitation from the festival.
Okay. So is that one of the reasons why you started Black Women Cans, because of everything that you just talked about?
Black Women Can is, again, it's not trying to convince the patriarchy to select more Black women. It's to celebrate the Black women that have been selected by the patriarchy,
Mm.
to celebrate them, to provide a place of joy and celebration for Black women. So Black Women Can was really started in 2022 under a celebration of Black women in film, because at that time they had only had one Black woman in competition in the entire 76 years of the festival, and that
Wow.
was Maddie Diep for her film Atlantique in 2019. They've had other women selected in different, other Black women selected in different categories, but not in competition. And then in 2023, they selected their second Black woman in competition, Ramata Tulai Sai, for her film Banal and Adama. And so at that time, it was really on my spirit and on my heart to celebrate and honor her. I was thinking about doing it with my own money. I didn't know what it looked like. And then I reached out to Melanie Hoyes of the British Film Institute, the inclusion director. And I told her my idea for celebrating the woman, Ramata Tulai Sai, and that's how the brunch was started. And then we also do the Black Woman's Lunch, which is the larger lunch. And that's a combination of Melanie's efforts in 2022. She had a lunch with about 12 Black women. I didn't know her, so I was not invited. And then I did a whole program for Black women in 2022. So then in 2023, we combined. But yes, the Black Women Can initiative is to celebrate, to honor, and to uplift the Black women who come to Cannes anyhow, despite excuse me, despite the blatant disregard for Black women in film. So yes, I'm a Black woman. That's my demographic, and I'm going to speak up, and I'm going to stand up for my sisters and provide them a place where they can be celebrated and we can find some joy in the midst of all this microaggression that's going on the ground in Cannes.
Yeah, that's amazing. And with that, you mentioned the British Film Institute,
Mm-hmm.
and you've also collaborated with Viola Davis's organizations, Juvie Productions. They've sponsored you. So can you talk about, because of everything that you're doing and you're accomplishing, in spite of, can you talk about the importance of having phenomenal relationships and going into collaborations that could actually further along exactly what it is that you're trying to do?
So I'll just say I'm blessed to have a handful of partners and sponsors. Um, and I'll say this, working with Juvie Productions, it's Kaylin Hunt and Julius Tenen that facilitate the partnership. They support me in anything that I do. From time to time, Viola Davis will repost something or she'll collaborate on a reel. So that helps. I've never seen her in Cannes. I've seen Julius in Cannes. That's how I met Julius in
Mm.
Cannes, actually, just on a random meeting. That's how they'll say how you meet people there. But it's a blessing because they do offer some financial relief, but most of the money comes from filmmaker submissions. But the partnerships are excellent because I get to say Viola Davis's Juvie Production, Academy Award winner Viola Davis, EGOT Viola Davis. Her production company, I don't say she, but her production company sponsors diversity in Cannes. So that adds a little credibility. Screen Australia just joined 2 years ago. This is their second year sponsoring, and that's even making it more global. I have an organization, a major organization on the other side of the world that supports diversity in Cannes. And then we'll talk about the British Film Institute and the inclusion team specifically, and Melanie in particular. Melanie and having her partnership, I told her it's more about the elevation for me. And that's what the British Film Institute helps me do. It helps elevate diversity in Cannes, the partnership with the British Film Institute, because it wasn't until 2023 that diversity in Cannes was ever mentioned in any trade after all this time.
Wow.
And again, nobody owes me any coverage. Nobody owes me a thing. But in 2023, that's the first time diversity in Cannes was ever mentioned in the major trades. Variety, Screen Daily. I don't know whether we were in Deadline, but Variety for sure, and Screen Daily. We were there because of the partnership that we established, though I've been doing all the things for all the years, right? So it helps having organizations who are willing to help elevate you and to help shine a light on you and what you've been doing, because it's never until somebody else says something, somebody with some clout says something that gives you any, not clout because you're not chasing clout, but gives you any exposure for the work that you're doing. And I give Time's Up as an example. And her name just Tarana Burke, is that her name?
Oh, goodness gracious.
Right. That's why I hate to bring up these conversations, but I'm gonna let me see. I'm gonna look it up so I can yes, right, Tarana Burke, right? So I'm gonna say this specifically to about, and I can't find where the can you see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay, I couldn't find the tab, but Tarana Burke. It wasn't until, even though she was the founder of the Times Up movement, it wasn't until a white woman called her out and said, "Well, we're talking about Times Up. We can't talk about Times Up without talking about Tarana Burke." You kind of vaguely remember that?
Yes.
She was doing the work. She was putting in the work. It wasn't until white actresses inserted themselves into the conversation that she was even acknowledged. And that's how it happens. So I appreciate Melanie for seeing me, for seeing my work, and for helping to elevate the work that I'm doing so that it can have more exposure. I appreciate her for that, because you don't get that often in the business. People see what you're doing, and if it's not, and excuse me, and if it's not someone associated with it with a name, then they don't really see you. It's not until somebody comes along and really pulls you up that you get the exposure that is needed to help propel the movement forward.
That's awesome. But you also, as you've said, 13 years before you're in the trades, and things of that nature. But you have to put in the work, but you have to put in the work the right way. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. They think, I'll just throw a couple of things up on social media. I'll do a little bit of this. I'll do a little bit of that. But they're not understanding that sometimes that grind is long. So when you talk about 2023 and you started in 2010, that's a 13-year journey. So and I'm going off my questions because that really struck me.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be someone who's sitting here watching this saying, it's not happening for me. It's not happening for me. Can you just talk a little bit about the fact that this is a journey that they're on, and if this is something that they want to do, that journey and the reward at the end of that may take a little longer than they may expect?
This is absolutely a journey. I don't even know how I got on this journey for real. Like, I swear. I mean, I know how it started and I
Mhm.
know how the idea got impregnated in my life, but I don't know how it consumed me in such a way, in the way that it does. Like, it has consumed me. It's like, if I don't have anything else, I have diversity in can. And it's absolutely a journey. And I want to say this, while I'm appreciative of the trades, even if I'm using the trades as I would use the Oscars, can, all the things, is there so you want to be a part of it, but not because that's my aspiration. The filmmakers are the ones that matter to me. The movement will continue as long as there are filmmakers that are there to support. They fuel me, they help keep the movement going, they fund the movement, and they are the ones who are spreading the word about the movement. So I just want to be clear about that. My goal is not the trades. My goal is to expose as many filmmakers as I can to the global film industry, because it's a big old world out there. And if it's not working in America or in your home country, take it somewhere else. That's really the bottom line. But it is indeed a journey. And it's an evolving journey, right? It started for me as a cross cultural symposium, and it has evolved into info sessions, an educational piece of it where I'm consulting, a concierge piece of it, a short film showcase piece. We're producing our first short film. It's been in development since 2018. So I'm believing and I'm willing it to happen. So it's an evolution and it is a journey. And you cannot expect people to acknowledge what you're doing, to give you credit for what you're doing, to praise what you're doing, because it's not going to happen. You can't go into it waiting for praise from people, because you may never get it. You may never get that support. And again, I don't know how I got on this ride, but I'm on it. And I'm like, these are the first couple of years. Like last year, I was really burned out because it's a gift and a curse. I'm able to say that I've been doing this for 16 years, but I've been doing it pretty much by myself. I have random support, different people who show up for me. But at the end of the day, I manage the screening committee, I manage the sponsorships, I manage the filmmakers, I manage the event planning, I manage the press, I manage all of the things. And this is not sustainable at this rate and at this level anymore. It's no longer sustainable. So I just started thinking about like contingency of like, maybe I'll sell it to some younger people, because this is not it, right? So you can't do it for, or I mean, you can do it for wherever you want to do it for, but it is a journey, and you may not get the recognition that you think you deserve in it. And this year I got a well, someone said it's a B. I got a B review
Mm.
this year, right? And the woman said, or the person, it was anonymous, so I'm assuming it was a woman, but she was like, I expected more. And she gave out certificates instead of trophies. And what she ranked me on was value.
Mm.
And that really hit home for me,
Mhm.
right? Because if somebody was like, well, girl, that's a B, like, get over it. I'm like, yeah. Now, had she said something like, well, it was 12 o'clock and she was still in there fixing the AV or something like that, that would have been something different. But she was talking about the value,
Mhm.
saying for what the submission fee is, you know, and the value, she was expecting more. So everybody's entitled to their opinion and everything, and that's fine. Um, but first of all, I went back and I responded to the review because I respond to all the reviews. I started not to respond and let the other reviews speak for me, but
Right.
I decided to speak for myself. And I said, you can't talk about the value. I said, because what festival do you know that when you submit, you're guaranteed three screeners from three diverse backgrounds. You don't know who's screening your film. But diversity in Cannes, you are guaranteed at least three screeners. You go through the process, and depending on what year we are and how many numbers you have at least 7 to 12 people who are watching your film before you even get into the showcase. Then you are entitled to feedback if upon request. So not only do we watch your film, you are entitled to this feedback. And then if you win, you get meetings with Jury Productions, Tyler Perry Studios, Anthony Hemingway Productions, Tracy Christian from TCA Root. These are some of our past parts. So you get prizes. You get career expanding prizes. So, ma'am, if you're going to talk about something, make sure it's something that I don't have no receipts for. So, you just gotta, it's a process. It's a process. And when you work so hard to make sure, you're not going to knock me down because I don't have no trophies. I'm not bringing the trophies across the ocean, right? And then I have to then mail them across the ocean because the winner could very well be in Australia. Like, we're going to take these prizes and we're going to be grateful, right? So you just get, sometimes you get caught up, sometimes you don't, but it's a journey.
Yeah, and I think see that is a perfect example of what are you in this for? Because my question to whoever that was or anyone, first of all, did you read everything that's involved before you submit? Because when I get submissions, they'll say a certain thing. And my thing is, okay, I have all of these rules and exactly what's going to happen if this happens. So if you had read all of that, you would have seen everything that is going to happen if you get past a certain point. And listen, a trophy is nice, but I would much rather have a sit down with someone that could elevate my career.
And
So
that's what I told her. That's what I said. I said, and that's worth far, in my opinion, that's worth far more than any trophy could ever be, right? And then I said my submissions, they start at 45 and they go to 100. And then I'm promoting inclusion at the world's most prestigious film festival, where the dollars are, where they're charging $6,000 for a half-day rental for a hotel room. So please go sit down somewhere.
Wow. Yeah. So many people don't. Oftentimes, after I finish a podcast, and I'm going to do it today.
Yes.
One thing that I tell people who are listening or who may be listening is to share this, because what they are getting is a free masterclass on how things really work. If you were to go somewhere for what you're telling people today, you would charge a lot of money. But today you're getting it for free. So when you see a response like that, and I've had those on my festivals too, and I had to, God forget, I have to clap back because I'm saying you have no idea the amount of work that's going into this. And you're excuse my French, ladies and gentlemen, you bitch about a trophy, but you have totally overlooked all of the conversations that you could have with people and all the conversations you had while you were there on the ground. Were you building relationships? Were you exchanging information? Were you saying, hey, maybe there's something that I can offer you and you can offer me to make my film better or to make my screenplay better? It's not about a trophy. It's about what are you doing that's going to help you build your career. I'm going off on a tangent, but that really gets my goat because I tell people all the time, it's a business.
Worthy. It's tangent worthy sometimes. And then as a solopreneur, sometimes you feel attacked and sometimes you take things too personally, right? So I will admit, because the lady was like, well, you got to be, so don't worry about it. And I said, yeah, I said, but it's not really about the be, right? You know, and to me, she wasn't well versed in the
Right.
things. So, so long term, like I just, it just, I like it really just consumed me. It
Yes.
really just consumed me. And I don't know like what my personal benefit is
Hmm.
from it, from all of this, right? I'm hoping, and I'm hoping that God reveals to me what, what it is and what I'm supposed to get from this. But I'm here, and I'm here for now, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it is what it is, but we're almost done because I know you're busy, so I don't want to take too much of your day. But I just have a few more questions for you.
Yes, I want to make sure that this is the master class that we intended it to be. So
Absolutely.
go ahead with
Well,
your
you
questions.
know what, Yolanda, if they don't get anything out of this, then someone was not listening because, the beauty of doing these, and I love talking to people such as yourself because I learn every time I turn on the screen. So, I am getting a master class as well. But let's talk really quickly about the Filmmaker Fund that you are creating for Black women who may want to attend a festival or fund a short film. So can you talk about that?
I can talk about it. It's an idea
Hmm.
that has not quite gotten off the ground because I am about more than just talk. Like I don't want to just have the luncheons and the brunches. Those are for specific purposes. They are really just for joy. They're not created to educate per se, like with the intention of educating. They are there for the with the intention of being a place of joy and a place of relief, right? So I want to be clear about that. However, I don't never want to be just a place where we're talking. Like I don't want to bring celebrities there to talk to you about their journey. I do, but in addition to that, I want to be a resource. I want to help you expand your your access, your exposure. So anything that I'm doing is for exposure. So one year I paid during COVID, we paid for some filmmakers to attend the virtual film markets online. That was like the Black Global Film Initiative. The film fund I would love to start, but I need funding. What I'm not going to do and what I've learned over these past 16 years is that, listen, I could want all the things in the world, but it is a process and folks need to help contribute. I'm not going to take it on my back. I'm not going to add this onto my back and try to carry it. If the Black women want it, then they will help fund it. And so I wasn't necessarily able to focus on it,
Hmm.
but the desire is there to create this fund and raise some money so that we can begin to, and whether it's a short film fund, because that's the easiest thing to do, raise some funds for that. That is the goal. I haven't mentioned much about it in a while, but
Hmm.
that is the idea, to just have some money for them to maybe finishing funds, maybe a festival fund, something that will help. But again, with just me and myself and the limited resources that I have, it's something that I could not take on, that I was not willing to take on without the support of other people.
Okay. So you said earlier that you may end up selling it to a younger person. Have you ever thought about maybe bringing diversity and can to the States and turning it into something else, or it has
No,
to be diversity and can?
yeah, yeah. Because I'm a global thinker.
Hmm.
I'm a language learner. I'm a former French teacher. I studied abroad in Cannes twice as an undergraduate, studied abroad in Paris. I'm more of a global person. The diversity space in the US is more, to me, is more saturated. if you will.
Mhm.
And Can is becoming saturated. There since I started, there in over like the last couple of years, a bunch of things have popped up. A couple of other, programs have popped
Mhm.
up, right? And there's enough for everybody to go around. So then that means, there may be some room for some diversification on my end and some separation on
Mhm.
my end. Um, but, no, I'm never going to be in the US. Some of my programming will be in the US, but not the movement.
Okay. Okay. So Ken Gregory
Yeah.
said, "Thank you, Yolanda, for all that you do, because two of his films were accepted into the showcase, and he truly appreciates you." And earlier, Janice Smith, your cousin,
Mm-hmm.
she said, "You deserve acknowledgement along with the others who are seen for what they do. You need to be seen as well. Everyone started somewhere to get where they are today," which is so true.
Thank you,
Which
cousin.
is so true. This is such, and it's a journey. And listening to you, it's kind of taking me back to when I was doing my award show in
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia. And, after the pandemic, when the pandemic started, we had to shut it down, and we're thinking about bringing it back next year. But one of the things that my wife and I talked about, because much like you, that thing was on my back. So that
Mm-hmm.
was checks, that was maxed out credit cards, that was all of that. And I said, if I go back into this, I'm not doing it that way again. I can't, because as you said, it's not sustainable. And so many people, they see your finished product, but they don't see, because I am more than sure, and you correct me if I'm wrong. When did Diversity in Can? When did it end? When was it? Was in May? You did it in
Oh
May?
yeah, yep. Diversity Day was Monday, May 19th,
Mm-hmm.
and we had three other Black women can events on the 16th, the the 15th, the 16th, and the 18th. So I had four events in about 7 days.
Okay. So I am more than sure that you're planning for next year right now.
Submissions are open,
And
and and and and last year I was so burnt out I didn't open them until October.
mhm,
This year I just opened them because our submissions were down,
mhm.
because I opened them in October. So I just opened them. But I said the sooner I open them, then that means I have to focus on the films and the screening committee and all the things. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And see,
never it's never ending.
that's what they don't see.
Yeah, my
That
mom is
is what they don't see. Yeah.
my mom is always like, "What are you working on?" I'm like, "I'm working on diversity and Ken." She's like, "You still working on diversity and Ken?" She doesn't get it. She just wants more time with her, spent with her.
Mhm.
But she's always like, "What are you working on?" And I'm like, "For this movement to move, I need to move. I'm responsible for all the prizes, for all the things, the screening committee, making sure it's diverse and making sure that the screening process is diverse and that there's the right eyes on each film and, the event planning, the AV, like all the things." So, yeah.
And that's what they don't see. They see everyone dressed up. They see everyone looking nice. The hors d'oeuvres are great, but they don't see the year of planning, the nights that you're up into the morning. You know, they don't see that.
Up into the morning, not only am I up into the morning, I'm up into different times of the morning because I'm dealing with people in different parts of the world. So if I need answers from Australia, then late at night is the answer. If I need answers from Europe, then the 6 a.m. time frame is good. If I need something in LA, then I'm 3 hours behind. So like my sleep schedule from like March to May is bananas. It really is, because I'm trying to get answers and responses to all these different people. So it's a lot of work that goes into this. And I thrive off of executing. I'm full service marketing communications, and I lead with events and PR, even though I was like corporate, but that's what I lead with because I love events. So while I don't have the big budget like I had while I was Jaguar Land Rover, I do know what a good event looks like. So I'm able to kind of pull it off with the limited resources that I have. So I do love that part. But if you didn't love that part, this thing will eat you alive. It
Yeah.
would.
Yeah. So we've talked almost an hour, and I have yet to ask you,
Yes.
how was the past showcase that you just had in May? How was it? How did everything go?
It went great. Um, it went great. And here's something that happened. I dropped the ball on the AV, right? So the Saturday before, when I reached out to my AV guy, he was like, "We can't help you because we don't have any more equipment." That's what he said on Saturday. My event is Monday at 12. That's because I dropped the ball, right? No, nobody knows behind the scenes really, but I dropped the ball in terms of just my communication, right? Because I had the 3 Black women can events before the diversity in can event, so I dropped the ball. So, but I went to Clark Atlanta where the motto is find a way or make one. So I didn't get all worked up. The bottom line was I'd have some AV come Monday, whether I had to buy it. And that's what I had to do. I had to buy the projector and the sound bar, and the hotel had a screen. I had to buy it. It was cheaper than actually renting it,
Mm.
but I would have liked probably a better projector. But the people didn't know. And I still ended and started on time. Instead of starting inside of the ballroom, I started outside of the ballroom, and they did their same thing that they would have done inside. But it was great. And since COVID, I've pivoted in such a way that the filmmakers get priority if they're attending the festival.
Mm.
You have to come to Cannes with the exception of a handful of films that I believe will program nicely. You have to come to Cannes in order for your film to screen on the ground in Cannes. I do it a little separately in that the films that are accepted in competition are in competition. I never had like in competition, it was just official selections. But now I have in competition films, which is about 16 to 20.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the top ranking films. Since COVID, post COVID, I've screened films of the people who commit to coming. And then I offer the virtual showcase for the winners, so I had to pivot. The point is, I told them I cannot build a movement without butts and seats. I cannot do all the things and promote the presence of this thing in your film.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be here on the ground to help promote your own film and to get people to come and to support your film. I provide the space, the platform, the reputation. You guys got to come and bring the people. So I've been doing that since 2021, and it's working out in my favor and in the favor of the organization, because this past year, it wasn't as heavily attended as the year before, but the filmmakers were there. I had about 20 filmmakers on the ground, and then some others who were there. I put their films in to the programming as well. So it's always great. It's always a diverse group of films that are programmed nicely because I take the programming seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And you can ask some filmmakers. One film, he used nigga about 4 or 5 times in like under 5 minutes. I said, bruh, I get it. I use the word, but I cannot run the risk of perpetuating a negative stereotype about Black people, even though diversity in Canada is not all Black, but I am Black.
Right.
I can't run the risk. Is there an edited version? He said there is not, but we can get you one.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So I take the programming very seriously. Last year's winner won the NAACP Image Award. Tamika Lamison for Superman Doesn't Still.
Yes.
We know how to pick them. We don't have any say in the making of them, but we definitely know how to pick them. And our filmmakers go on to do great things. So it was a great showcase. The awards were good. The filmmakers are still networking. The reviews are coming in. They don't review as much as I would like them to review, but the reviews are coming in. The emails I'm getting were positive. The responses were positive. So, and we're now working on the virtual showcase, which I believe will go live next week. In an ideal world, the virtual showcase and the on-site showcase happens at the same time, but alas, it did not.
Wow.
And they're going to be lucky because normally it might happen in December.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to take this question. Ken Gregory, please talk about how upset you were that Cannes pushed out releases of more shorts but still didn't accept diverse films, and how you accepted everyone Black because of the crazy patriarchy in Cannes. Now, you did touch on this earlier, but let's revisit that.
Can you repeat his question?
From Ken Gregory. And Ken, thank you so much for supporting, because Ken is here every time we do a podcast, so I truly appreciate you, Ken. He said, please talk about how upset you were that Cannes pushed out releases of more shorts but still didn't accept diverse films, and how you accepted everyone Black because of the crazy patriarchy in Cannes.
Okay, so the question is not quite okay. So the last part of the question is accurate. The first part is not accurate.
Okay.
So I had a meltdown in April. And I'm not a meltdown type of chick. But I had a meltdown in April because all the top films, as decided by the screening committee for diversity in Cannes, were from Black filmmakers, right? Because diversity in Cannes is not just about Black people, I was trying to figure out how I could program some different films instead of all of the Black films, right? Because diversity in Cannes is inclusive diversity. The program, we're synonymous with inclusive diversity, all of the things. I'm having a meltdown. And then, but before I start having the meltdown, I say it aloud. I say it aloud to a few people, like all the top films are from Black people. And I cannot have an all Black showcase. This is what I'm saying, right? Well, this is what I'm going through. But then I start verbalizing it. And I'm like, what, bitch? Like, you can't have a show. No, seriously. I really was like, what? You can't. And I was speaking to one friend in particular, and he was like, what? Like, but there was no malice intended for that. That was me keeping consistent with my brand and how I normally do things. But then the Cannes Film Festival made their announcements on like the Thursday before I was to make my announcements. And in good old Cannes fashion, just overall, their selections were not very diverse. And they didn't even mention Spike Lee in the first go round. Right? Spike had to make his own announcement after they made theirs. Like, they make their announcements about 7 a.m. on the Thursday, like the 13th, like mid the 13th or the 12th or something of April. Terry Fumo and his counterpart, they had absolutely no problem spewing out 75 names with maybe 20 diverse.
Mm.
I said, bitch, if you don't get yourself together, if you don't get, they don't have no problem promoting their patriarchy. They don't have a problem selecting their films. They're not trying to be fair and equitable. And you sitting here with your top films from Black filmmakers, and you trying to figure out how not to program them so you can be fair to other people. Get yourself together. Get yourself together. And I accepted everybody Black that was down in that top list. And that made up my showcase. And I had to go live and tell the people that I really had to check myself, because I wasn't standing up for the culture. I was trying to put other cultures before our culture for the sake of diversity and inclusion. Sis, no, that's not gonna happen. So that's what happened. So that's what Ken is talking about.
Yeah. I saw the live.
Yeah.
I saw the live. And you know what? I get it, because you're running a business, because this is a business, and you try to do the balancing act.
Yeah.
But then you see other entities and they're like, we don't give a we gonna do what we want. And you're sitting there saying, well, wait a minute, I'm trying to play by these rules that don't exist.
Well, I was just trying to play by my own rules.
Right.
So I was trying to play by my own rules. Right. I'm always quick to say it's not just about race. Right. And I'm harder on the Black films because I'm not showing no violence. I'm not showing no domestic violence against women. I'm not showing it. I don't care how good it is. I'm not running the risk of somebody where English is not their first language to misconstrue something, or if that's all they see. I'm not perpetuating that negativity, those stereotypes, right? I'm not doing it. But then so I'm harder on the Black films in that way. But these films, they were not, well, a handful were. These films were not that. And so, yeah, I had to really be like, okay, well, whatever. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. And that's what I did.
Yeah. And the ones that I saw were amazing.
All right. Because thank you for
well, girl, you know, look, I'm retired, so anything you need, I'm here. And I need to answer that email, because you sent the email asking about were we available for next year. So I'm just telling you now, yes, I am. So okay, I don't have to answer, because you know I'm always help you out because I believe in what you're doing.
Well, thank you for that. And when you sent this, you were like last minute. I said, well, you know, we do last minute, so I'm always available for the last minute.
Absolutely. So what is next for Yolonda Brinkley?
Whew. Seriously, Yolonda Brinkley, for let's say the past 10 years, since I've been back in Philadelphia on family business unintentionally, I had to focus on myself and regroup and figure out professionally, now that Diversity in Can kind of run on its own, what it is that I need to be doing for myself professionally, because Diversity in Can does consume me. So I need to get a life outside of Diversity in Can. And yeah, and so that I can find the joy again in what I'm doing. So that's what's next for me.
Yeah. And you know what, if I may say,
yes,
from being on the outside looking in, I don't even want to call it what you have a problem, but the fact that you've done so much over the last 17 years and it's just grown into this, it may have grown and gotten away from you because it's so good. And, you know, you may be feeling a little overwhelmed. You know, again, anything that I can help you with, I will help you with. But it's interesting because the thing they say is, be careful sometimes what you wish for and what you pray for, because you'll get it. And you got it, And now you're saying, whoa, that's a lot. But for someone such as yourself who is doing so many great things, I think that's a part of this thing, because people need to see what Black excellence looks like. They really do. Because so often you hear people complain about, well, Black people not this and Black people can't do that. And so then when they run across something like yours, it's kind of like a responsibility. But on the flip side of that, you definitely need to, recalibrate and take time for yourself, because here's what we don't want to happen. We don't want you to get to a place where you just say, I'm not going to do this anymore, because what you do is so important. It ain't funny, especially in 2025, with everything that Black people are having to deal with. Something like what you're doing, and it's like a lighthouse, it's like a beacon, because they're trying to take diversity out of film. They don't want to show it on streaming platforms. You look, all of the things that are going on. So I say that all to say we truly appreciate what you're doing, because it's just amazing. So again, anything that I can help you with to get you to the finish line, I am definitely available. But my last question for you is, what advice would you give anyone in this business or looking to come into this business? What advice would you give them on how to move and navigate it?
So, because I'm not a filmmaker,
Mm-hmm.
right? The advice that I have is more practical, just in terms of know what you want, go for what you want. Don't wait for invitations. Don't wait for praise. Kick the door down and create your own space. That's probably the advice that I have for people, because you cannot wait. Like these people, and this is for this is for Black people, people of color, all the people, but I'm going to talk about the Black people. They ain't inviting you to the cookout. Well, no, not to the cookout, because the cookout's ours.
That's ours.
But they're not inviting you to the Christmas dinner.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just inviting you to the Cannes Film Festival, to Berlin, to Locarno. They're not inviting you to the Oscars, to the Independent Spirit Awards, to all the things. So if you wait for your invitation, it's not going to happen. Don't allow those people to validate you and have you decide who you are, right? Gina Prince Bythewood said, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember every single thing, but it was about her Oscar and like the snub. And basically she said, it kind of helps you get your next job. That's why you want it. You want it so that it can help you get your next job. It helps prepare you for the next, or position you for the next thing. And I'll say that's true. But then I'll also use Will Smith as an example. Pre-slap, pre-Oscar nomination. That thing continued to elude him. Jada boycotted when he didn't get nominated for this or that. But did Will really need an Oscar to do what he was doing? He did not. Will was still an A-list box office giant without those things. So they don't define you. And in Will's case, it happened to go downhill. But just as an example, in Monique's case, didn't benefit her. So do not let these entities define who you are, determine your movement, and make you feel less than because either you're not invited or they don't see you. That's my advice. See your goddamn self.
Ladies and gentlemen, this disruptor extraordinaire, Yolonda Brinkley. Where can they find you on social media? If someone wants to reach out and connect and collaborate and support, where can they find you?
They can find me at Diverse in Can, Diver, the letter N, Cannes. Black Women Can, BlackWomen Cannes, and Miss_Yolonda, Yolonda. And for my politicals, they can find me at Philly Jones for Kamala.
Okay.
And I bet y'all wish y'all voted the other way.
Ooh, girl.
I bet y'all wish y'all voted the other way. But alas, the black woman wasn't good enough for y'all.
Now we get ready to get off, but that could be another 3-hour podcast.
Yes.
with you know what? Let me stop because I'm about to get me started, and you know, I'm not going to do that. But this has been absolutely amazing. We would definitely love to have you back. And again, please.
There's a comment right here from somebody that attended. So can you
Tracy Cruz?
Yeah. Can you see it?
Yes, Tracy Cruz. Hi, Tracy. She said the showcase was so good. You are necessary.
Okay, that's what she said.
Yes, that's what she said. You can't see the comments? Oh, you know what?
Well, I see a different comment. She said, I had a great time at Diversity in Can and Black Women Can. It was so nice to see so many brown faces and women in the industry at a variety of levels in a safe space.
Okay, that's further up on my feed. Yeah.
Kudos to Yolonda.
Yeah. Okay, so I got that one too. Okay.
Okay, so I just wanted to acknowledge Tracy and say thank you for coming. And she was able to bring a childhood friend also from Philadelphia who hasn't announced that she was there yet, so I won't say her name, but I think you know her. We grew up together, we went to school together, so thank you, sister, for coming as well.
Okay, well, this has been absolutely amazing, and thank you everyone who decided to spend the last hour or so with myself and the amazing Yolonda Brinkley. I hope that you have learned something. I hope that you have gotten some phenomenal takeaways. Please make sure you support this phenomenal young lady. And please share this podcast. The views are great, but I want you guys to share this podcast because we need all the Black people on deck. We really do. And the more that you share this podcast to let people know exactly what Diversity in Cannes is all about, the amazing things that they're doing, the light that she is shedding on Black filmmakers, that is something that we all need, because again, we all we got. And like she said, they ain't inviting you to the table. So if we're not creating our own, what is the point in all of this? So again, Yolonda, thank you so much for joining me on a conversation with podcast. I am your humble host, Floyd Marshall Jr. Make sure you're following the podcast on all streaming platforms. And I'm going to end the show the way I always end it. Love it like a hobby, but treat it like a business. Everyone have an absolutely amazing, amazing night. Peace.